Hello, my name's Stuart Rogers. I'm co-founder of Badass Empire with Victoria Loskotova, and this is Badass School. Welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about how to keep your mental health strong and how to do that whilst you're working remotely. Now, this is something that is becoming incredibly important in the wake of COVID-19 and the novel coronavirus pandemic. So a lot of you out there have been pushed into, forced into, moved into doing remote work, taking your job home and having to do it from there. And that comes with its own unique set of challenges. I mean, it turns out that something around 29 to 30% of people, wage and salary workers in the United States, for example, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, have been asked to work remotely. And, that's quite a massive percentage of people when you consider how many people are workers, wage and salary workers in the United States of America. And of course, it's the same worldwide. Coronavirus, COVID-19, has now been contracted by a reported more than 1 million people and affects 204 countries and territories. So it's a worldwide problem, and hopefully you're watching this from home right now because we've been asked to stay at home pretty much everywhere. So how do you work from home and maintain strong mental health? Well, there's a lot of different things that you need to consider. Like, first of all, working from home is actually a lot more challenging than it seems. For those of us that have been doing this for a while, working from home, working remotely, we've built up all sorts of coping mechanisms to ensure that we stay mentally and physically strong. But for those of you new to it, first thing to do is acknowledge the fact that actually it's quite hard to work from home. It's quite hard to work remotely, and it's okay for you to think that. It's better to be prepared for how difficult the situation is as opposed to coming into it and not knowing how hard it could be. So, one of the first things is be patient with yourself. Your home environment is filled with all sorts of distractions. You might have family members around you or flatmates, other people living with you. There's pets, there's noises, there's just things like, maybe I'll slip off and listen to some music, maybe I'll go and make some more food, that kind of thing. So, there's a lot of distractions. Just be prepared for that. Preparedness is really important. And just give yourself time to adjust to it. You're not going to be able to just like slip into it automatically unless you've had practice already. And that brings us to the subject of perfection. There are a lot of perfectionists out there. A lot of us like things to be perfect. One thing that is really helpful is to understand that there actually isn't anything such as perfection. Now, perfection is something that a lot of people strive for, and think about it in terms of a software or a website or an app release perspective. If you constantly wait to release your app until it is in your eyes perfect, you're never going to get it out to people. You're never going to get the feedback from them that it is exactly what they were looking for, or how to update it or change it or improve it. It's better to get to an 80% perfect thing and have that out within a few weeks so that you can get feedback than it is to spend months on getting it to 100% perfection. And of course, that perfection is only in your eyes. Perception is reality. In fact, the 80% product is most likely exactly what everybody wants. If you've done your market research, if you've made sure that your product, your app, your solution, your service is what people are looking for. So better to get it out there and get that feedback. If you start to let go of the idea of perfection, you'll give yourself time to adjust to the fact that you're in an environment where nothing can be perfect. So that's the first thing. Now, second thing to do when you are in this environment is to create a routine for yourself. Routines are really important. I'll give you an example of my routine. I wake up in the morning. First thing I do is meditate, and we're going to talk more about meditation later on in this video. And then I make my bed. Now, it's a small thing, But making your bed is a task, and it's something that you can do quickly and easily. But when you've made your bed, that's your first task done. It gives you a tiny sense of achievement, which sets you up for the rest of the day. I then go and get some breakfast to make sure I've got fuel for the day, and I then have a little play of some kind. I might, play a mobile game. If it's nice and bright and sunny outside, obviously I'm not going to go walking around because we've been asked to stay indoors, but go out into the garden, enjoy a bit of vitamin D, maybe read something that's not work related, listen to some music, do some exercise. There's lots of incredible online exercise classes going on right now to help people stay fit and healthy in isolation and quarantine situations. Just do something that is fun and playful and not work. And then I do my work. Now, we're going to talk in future videos about how to optimize your work, how to optimize your task list, what to do first, so that you set yourself up for the best possible day ahead, but we'll save that one for later. But having that schedule, having that routine, is something that's going to help you get some predictability back in your life. And predictability for us humans is extremely comforting. So, wake up, meditate, make the bed, shower, get dressed, have some breakfast, do something fun, and then start to work. And that's how I start my day. Also, another thing that is very easy to fall into when you're working from home is information overload. Now, information overload isn't just something that affects all of us because of the barrage of news and social media and everything else, but if you are a person and if you're somebody that's a digital professional or a startup worker or a founder or something like that, is highly likely that you have a pretty high IQ. And there are these things, and again we'll have another completely separate video on this, but they're called overexcitables, and they affect people with very high IQs. And one of the overexcitables is the ability for gifted people, people with a high IQ, to take on much more information than people with a regular or slightly above regular IQ. That can be great because it means you can take on a lot of brilliant information, but it can also be negative because it leads to very quick information overload. Can lead, if you're working all the hours that are possible, to a burnout very, very quickly. So important that you don't overload on information. Focusing on what is important and focusing on getting the information to you that will help you with your important tasks is really, really good idea. But constantly watching, listening to, reading mainstream media, social media, everything else, and of course, bear in mind some professions are very media centric. I mean, I'm a journalist and editor for Grit Daily, for example. It's kind of my job to keep up with the media, but unless that's the case, try to wean yourself off of that. If you want to keep up to date, of course, you absolutely should, but limit it. Put it in your schedule. Make it maybe half an hour in the morning, maybe half an hour in the evening, something like that. Another important thing to do is to recognize exactly what you need. Now, what I mean by that is if you're an introvert, you're probably really enjoying this time to draw on that introvert energy. You're okay with a little bit of isolation. You're okay with going into yourself and understanding yourself more. For extroverts like me, it's difficult. It's difficult to have this lack of social interaction with our friends, our colleagues, and our families and everybody else. So, one of the things you can do, and this is something that we've seen a lot of, and there's been a massive spike in usage of Zoom, for example, and downloads of apps like House Party, is put that into your schedule too, to spend a little bit of face-to-face time with people. Of course, the screen is not going to fully replace that 3D interaction with the people that you care about, work with, and regularly communicate with, but it will actually help you to look after that need for human interaction and human connection. So make sure you're using the technology and don't use it too much. Again, it's about making sure you put it into your schedule, making sure that you get something useful from those interactions. And just generally tend to recharge as much as you can. The other thing that's great about working remotely is you will find, hopefully, that you'll be able to focus on your tasks more. You'll be able to focus on your tasks more, you'll be able to put your energy into what is in front of you because you won't have all this noise going on around you, all the distractions, everything else. So, don't, for example, try to just pretend that working from home is just like working from an office and it's business as usual. Instead, put in these structures, and when you then get to the point where you're doing some work, for me that's just after that first play/fun session, you'll find that you can really focus on that task, and then it's important to step away once you've completed that, take a break. It doesn't have to be a long break, but it's worthwhile having that break. Now, that doesn't sound, does it, like optimizing work, but we're going to go into this in much more detail on a future video, but trust me, that break and having maybe another play session, fun session or something like that, even for just 15 minutes, is enough to help you streamline the way that you think, and when you come to the next task on your list, you'll do it more effectively, you'll do it quicker, with a little bit more inspiration, certainly more clarity. It's less likely that you'll make mistakes, and therefore you won't have to redo the task or fix it again the next day. So things that are important always trump things that are urgent. So work on the important stuff, because as you get through important tasks, you will feel a great sense of accomplishment, and it'll keep you going all the way through the day. What else can help you with your mental health? Well, first of all, stay hydrated. That's really important. Get some exercise somehow. If it's in your garden, in your living room, if in your country or region you're allowed to go out for half an hour or an hour to do exercise, take advantage of that. Do it. If you exercise, it will actually improve your immune system, and it will improve your mental health, especially if you can get into nature in any way, shape or form. Fresh air, nature and water, and try to avoid too much in terms of like sugary treats and that kind of thing, because sugar and too much caffeine, those kinds of things, they'll perk you up for a little while, but then you'll get a crash. And also lots of sugar actually does change the way that the neurons fire in your head, and that will have an effect on you. If you are prone to things like anxiety or depression, if you can't focus, if you're feeling sad about everything that's going on, try, obviously there's, these things are clinical, and depression in particular is an imbalance of chemicals in your body, along with other triggers that might be in your environment or around you. But first of all, remember that everything passes. This is temporary. It's okay for you to feel that. It's okay for you to recognize it. It's okay for you to work through it. Maybe stay connected with somebody, talk to a friend, a remote therapist. There's many apps and solutions online where you can get somebody to actually talk to you online. Do some reading, anything that you enjoy. Maybe check with your physician online, your GP. There are mental health practitioners that are available remotely. Use those options if you are prone to anxiety, depression, and you feel yourself going down that road. Again, remember, it's okay to feel that. It's okay to feel into it. It's okay to understand it, recognize it, but also remember, it will pass. Nothing is permanent. Everything will pass. And that takes me back to something that I believe very, very strongly in, which is meditation. Now, I meditate daily, and it does help me to keep stress-free. And if you reduce your stress levels, you'll actually improve your immunity. The way that works is that when we're doing something that is incredibly stressful, and we're working really, really hard all the time, we are overproducing adrenaline, and when we overproduce adrenaline, we overproduce cortisol. The overproduction of cortisol actually leads to an erosion of your immune system over a reasonable period of time. So the converse is true. If you can stay away from overproducing adrenaline and cortisol, then your immune system has time to look after itself, to build itself. Now, meditating is not about clearing your mind. Meditating is very much about understanding that as you take a breath in and then release that breath and you trace it all the way in and out again, you're creating a slice of time in front of you that might last about 6 or 7 seconds. Anything that happens within that slice of time, recognize it for what it is and let it pass. Whether it's a noise, whether it's a smell, whether it's a thought in your head, whatever it may be, recognize it for what it is and let it pass. And it's that constant practice of recognition and passing, that puts you into a mindful place where you're focused on what is happening now. Because you can't change the past, so why expend energy worrying about it? You can't control the future, so why expend energy worrying about that? You can focus on now, which actually not only increases your immune system and reduces your stress levels, but also allows you to focus more on what is in front of you, helping you to work faster and more accurately and better. We're going to go into that in much more depth in the future. So, all of these things are going to have a significant impact on your ability to stay mentally strong as you work remotely. Again, one thing just to recognize and remember, structure is important, but when you are working from home, things will happen. There is no such thing as perfection. So also try to remain fluid, also try to give yourself the opportunity to just, move with the flow, because things will happen and you can't control them. You have to basically react to them. But have that structure in place. Do exercise. Make sure that you meditate every day. You can always use an app like Calm to help you understand how to meditate, and the 7 Days of Calm is a program built into the Calm app. Do that, follow that with the 21 Days of Calm, and you're on your way to building a really good daily meditation habit. They'll guide you through the whole process and explain how it works. And rid yourself of the idea of perfection, and make sure that you're keeping yourself healthy mentally and physically as you go through this process of transitioning to or practicing more the idea of remote work. Combining all of these things together is going to make sure that you get through this with the best possible mental and physical strength. So that's my video about mental health whilst you're working remotely for Badass School. We're going to have a lot more videos for you. Badass School is part of badasssummit.com, which is part of badassempire.com. Check it all out. Badass Summit is our virtual conference where 28 amazing speakers teach you how to really do things, like real takeaways, real things you can practice in both business marketing and lifestyle. So check that out at badasssummit.com, and keep coming back here at Badass School. We're going to have a lot more for you. We're dropping videos and articles and all sorts of other great information for you on a regular basis. Thanks so much for being one of our patrons, and I'll see you again real soon.